Republican leader of the Assembly, James Gallagher. Welcome
Good to be with you. Yeah.
Welcome to GBWire. Thank you for being here. Tell us what the Republican Party's agenda is for California. You're in the minority. What does the minority want to see California happen to California?
Well, in summary, our agenda is to make California affordable, to make California safe, and to make California resilient. Right now we're none of those things, right? We're completely unaffordable. We want to reduce people's costs, from everything from utility bills to grocery costs to gas in this state, which has gone skyrocketing, right? We actually want to keep our communities safe. We think there needs to be accountability for crime. You shouldn't be able to steal from any store and deprive people of their livelihood, deprive people of their safety. And then we think, we need a resilient California. That means we need to invest in infrastructure. That means we can't have an antiquated grid that you're going to actually put more power. You're going to try and, electrify everything, and you have a grid that's about to fall apart, that's sparking wildfires and making people unsafe. We think we need a resilient California, so we are advocating for those things every day.
Tell us what's happening at the southern border in terms of what's coming through with whether it's guns, drugs, and can California do anything, or do we let all those, nefarious things get across?
It's a very sad state of affairs. What we have coming across our southern border is fentanyl that's killing our kids. We have people being trafficked across that border. We know this. And the governor's response is, hey, I'm going to send 20 more people down to the border to do something about it. I mean, it was completely ridiculous. And he continues to just do these gestures that as if he's doing something grand. And the reality is we have to do something to ensure that those dangerous drugs are not coming across our border. We have a real border security because we need to keep our communities safe. And we need to go after dealers, because right now we have people that are dealing drugs. They have thousands and thousands of pills. They get caught, and essentially very little happens to them. Maybe they spend a couple of days in jail or they're released. And it's all because of California law and policy that Gavin Newsom and the Democratic supermajority, has made into law. They've supported all these things. They've championed it. And now you're hearing them say, oh, we need to do something about fentanyl. Well, you caused the problem. You caused the problem when it comes to the crime that we're seeing in this state.
You recently made some comments about the, at the time, proposed CCW gun that the governor signed into law today. And it was one of the bills that the governor, I think, was promoting. Can you comment on that? And I think in our area, Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula was the only one that actually voted yes to support that bill. Did you have any conversations with Joaquin about this? And also, what are your thoughts on the law that our governor signed?
Well, let me start with this. We have a real problem with gun violence in California, right? Right now, we have a trend of 44 mass shootings a year in California. We have seen violent crime jump. Crimes committed with guns, have jumped. Now, the governor likes to say, hey, we're below the national average, but it's still violent crime that's being committed against, our people every day. And by and large, that crime is committed by people who we know are violent. They are people who've been in and out of jail. They're felons who are not even supposed to have guns in the first place. And Rob Bonta, who's the Attorney General, hasn't disarmed them. There's still over 10,000 people on this prohibited persons list in California that haven't been disarmed. And these are the same people. They're also being released from prison early. There's a gentleman in Sacramento, blocks from the state capitol. He was released after 4 years when he was supposed to serve a 10-year term. Guess what he did? The same thing he's always done. He got an illegal weapon, he modified it, and he killed 5 people on the streets of Sacramento, blocks from the Capitol. It's these bad policies that are leading to that. But what do the Democrats do? They passed this bill this year that goes after CCW holders. CCW holders are people who go to their local sheriff and say, hey, would you give me a permit so that I can carry my gun? These are law-abiding people. Exactly one person in the last 10 years that was a CCW holder was responsible for a homicide. One. Meanwhile, career criminals have been responsible for thousands of deaths, thousands of violent crimes throughout this state. And so their answer is to go after the law-abiding citizens and say, we want to make it harder for you, to get your CCW permit. It's not the answer. It's completely wrong.
Well, where's the stronghold in California legislator? Who's, who do if you go inside baseball, inside politics, say which groups are influencing, driving, or having an agenda that's being executed by the legislator? Which groups? Is it the Cal Chamber? Is it building industry? Is it developers? Is it unions? Is it oil companies? How does that work? So many of us would just see, here's a bill that was introduced and it became law, and here's one assemblywoman or a man that introduced it. But who are the power brokers in Sacramento?
Labor and consumer attorneys are the most powerful group in California politics, period. They got pretty much everything they wanted in this legislative session. There's been many articles written about it. Everything they supported essentially passed. I'll tell you who does not have power, and people need to hear this. It's not moderate Democrats. So when you hear people say, oh, we need to elect a moderate Democrat, they're going to go and help and they're going to stop stuff. They collapsed on every single bill, and these kind of crazy policies passed, right? But let's talk a little bit more about labor. It's SEIU. It's the California Teachers Association that stops anything that try and helps education reform, like tenure reform, to ensure that our kids are getting the best education in the classroom and that we get bad teachers out of the classroom. Democrats have run bills like that, and CTA kills them. Consumer attorneys groups, that just seek to drive up your costs. So after this legislative session, because of these groups and passing their agenda, here's the bottom line for you. You're going to pay more for groceries. You're going to pay even more for your utility bills, as if they weren't high enough. Environmental groups that continue to push, a climate agenda that just means more cost for you. More cost for you. You're going to pay more for a hamburger. If you go to a fast food joint, you're going to pay more because of bills that have passed this year. And your rural hospitals that you need as your lifeline when you're having a health issue, more of them are going to go under, because they passed legislation to increase the minimum wage in healthcare to $25 an hour. Rural hospitals are already hanging on the brink. Madera, is probably the biggest example here in the Valley.
Yeah.
And they just passed legislation that's going to make the problem even worse. So you can't make this stuff up. Gavin Newsom and the supermajority Democrats in Sacramento are making your life unaffordable, unsafe, and not long-term sustainable. And that's why we've seen over 700,000 people leave the state, in the last, few years. We've got to change it. Republicans are standing for a better quality of life for all Californians, for an affordable quality of life, and we're going to continue to fight for that.
With that, I want to thank you for joining us this
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you, and I hope to have you back on the show soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.